Okay, Cambridge 11, test 2, reading 1. Raising the Merry Rose, let's see what we've got. 4 true, false, not given at the beginning, then matching dates and events, and a diagram. So I hope you know, do the diagram first. Now it's very important that your skills are good enough to find where this diagram comes from. How do you find it? Where do you start looking? Well, the first thing you must notice is this: raising the hull of the Merry Rose, stages 1 and 2. Very important. The second thing that you should know, that you should guess, is that it's going to be near the end because it's the last questions. That's not always the case, but let's try. The third thing is that you should try and find where this ends. We've got a bunch of dates here. If you want, even now at the beginning, you could go and find all of these dates because you will need to do that anyway. Anyway, this is the last date. So then I go to my text. I see there's a very big paragraph over here. And immediately I'll think, okay, maybe it's that. I also see there's 1982 there, but there's also 1982 there. So maybe it's not this 1982 for this other question here, 1982. It's starting to look like it makes sense that this is where that previous question ends and this is where the diagram begins. But then the last and most important thing is that you're going to scan for raising, hull. Merry Rose, no, the whole passage is about Merry Rose and stages 1 and 2. It's not over here. Well, hull is over there, okay, Merry Rose is over there, but they are everywhere. As you can see, hull is everywhere. So it's not in this first sentence, but if you scan just a little bit more, if you saw this colon introducing important information, and that is the most important word for this, and stages as well, but raising and lifting is what you wanted to find. So if your exam skills are good, you will be able to find this word in under a minute, and you will know that the diagram comes from this last paragraph. Great. If you didn't, then really think about why you didn't, because you really needed to find that really quickly. Right, now I just want to take a quick diversion, and I just want to point out this kind of language over here. It's very important language. When you see this kind of thing, you must take note of it. IELTS loves this. What must you do? They say there are 3 stages. Now you must go and find those 3 stages. In this one it was quite nice. There was nice linking language. So there's nothing here about the first stage. Keep on scanning. There's the second stage, and there's the third and final stage. So that immediately gives you, look, this is a very big, very difficult, confusing paragraph, but now immediately you've got some structure to it. You can divide the paragraph into 3 parts. Also, what do we know? We know that we're only looking at stages 1 and 2. So you're only going to be looking at that part over there. You can actually ignore the third and final stage. So I'm going to take a quick diversion just to show you a couple more examples of how important this language can be. I just want to remind you of our little list that we made in Cambridge 12. And we saw this, we added it to our list as language to notice that will point to important information. Anything, 1 reason, 2 reasons, 3 factors, 4 advantages, 5, whatever. Take note of it. For example, in Cambridge 12 we had risks agriculture faces, and they had that language over there, and that IELTS actually asked a question from that language. They asked this question over here: characteristics that only apply to food production. That's the only is unique, aspects, characteristics. So that language gave you the answer for that question. So it's important language. Right, another example. This was gaining knowledge, the purpose of gaining knowledge. In this paragraph over here, they had that 2 main attitudes, and then there was the first attitude over there and the second attitude over there. And that actually was the language for an answer in one of the matching headings. 2 main attitudes to that question. That gave you this heading. All right, so please, this kind of language, please notice it. Right, back to Merry Rose. So you found the paragraph. You found it really quickly. You divided the paragraph into 3, and you know that you're only looking through 1 and 2, stages 1 and 2. Then let's go and just start. Unfortunately over here, these we don't actually get any help from the grammar. And the reason for that is that it's important to note in diagrams, very often when they have a passive, this should be was attached or were attached. And this one should be was used or were used or is used or are used. But in diagrams and many other note forms, tables as well, they drop the to be. They just delete it. It's like shorthand language for labeling diagrams and putting things in a table and that sort of thing, just to make it shorter. So if that was or were or is or are, that would give us some help, but they drop it. So we don't know if it's plural, single, whatever. But we know we're looking for nouns. If you take a quick look, you'll see that we're looking for nouns. Anyway, after about 1 minute of looking at this test, you should be looking for the word wires. You know we're over here, and there it is. Okay, so let's look at our sentence. The hull was attached to a lifting frame. This lovely preposition again, we see it so much. Learn this preposition. It can mean many things. It can mean by or with or to or from. So the hull was attached to a lifting frame. In this case, it's with bolts and lifting wires. So the hull was attached to a lifting frame. The something was attached to the hull. So they just switched it around. So of course it's lifting frame. Right, next. One thing to remember with diagrams, they do go back. With one of them, they go back. They won't go back with this one because this is right at the beginning. But just be aware. To prevent hull being sucked into mud, let's scan for mud. The problem of the hull being sucked back downwards into the mud was overcome. There's our prevent by using 12 hydraulic jacks. Let's just check. We can have no more than 2 words. They don't say anything about a number, so you must drop the 12. So your answer is just hydraulic jacks. Hydraulic jacks over there. The legs are placed in 2. I'm probably going to look for a plural here because there's more than one leg. What are these things? Whenever you can, look at the diagram. Often it can help you with your understanding. Look at the diagram. So this says there's the legs, and they are placed into these 2 things. So we're looking for a plural noun here. The diagram told us that. The legs are placed into, remember we're in second stage here. There's legs. Positioning, to locate, that's placed the legs into. We have inverted commas again. Stabbing guides, we have our S over there of the lifting cradle. Quite clear. That will be stabbing guides. You can put the inverted commas, you can forget the inverted commas, not important. 12, the hull is lowered into, another into. Now what they've done here is they've gone back. I'm looking for hull lowered into. I can't see anything here. So always with a diagram, they go back. Here's stabbing guides, but they've gone back to this sentence over here. So the hull was lifted and transferred into the lifting cradle. Slightly difficult if you were looking for it over here because you wanted to go forward. The hull is lowered into the lifting cradle, used as extra protection for the hull. So now they'll go forward again. We want extra protection. Can you see extra protection for the hull? Extra, additional, cushioning. A cushion is like a pillow for the hull. There's our phrase. What gave the extra cushioning? The airbags. Great. So, a very nice start. The key was to do that quite quickly by finding the paragraph really quickly, dividing the paragraph into 3 stages, and then you could find those 5 answers quite quickly, no problem. Right, let's look at our matching the dates. All right, match the event to the date. So I hope you know the first thing that you're going to do is what? Scan for the dates. Start with 1836. So I'm not going to go through it in the video. I'll just scan them all quickly. You should do the same. All right, there's 1936. 1840, 1965, 67, 71, 79, and 82. I did highlight this 82 over there, but I don't think it's going to be that one. I think it's going to be this one because the diagram started here. It's possible. IELTS can always do something nasty, but it's unlikely. Right, what do we do now? Because there's only 4 of these, maybe it's a good idea to look at these first. If there's a lot of these, you can't remember it all, but there's only 4. Let's just see if we can find some nice keywords. Search, launched, one person's exploration, raised, maybe agreed. There's nothing really nice here. Sight by chance, maybe. All right. So now we're going to go to each date, find the sentence, and see if we can match it with any one of these. There's no real great keywords here. Hopefully the sentences will give us something better. What happened in 1836? Some fishermen found their equipment was caught, which turned out to be the Mary Rose. So some guys were fishing, their equipment, maybe their fishing nets, was caught on something underwater. Turned out to be means it was unexpected. They didn't think it would be, but it was the Mary Rose. Did they start searching for it? No. One person? No. We're talking about fishermen. No. Nothing stopped there. It was agreed by many people. Should be raised. No. The site was found by chance. So that looks pretty good. By chance was important there because they didn't intend to find it. They were doing something else. They were fishing, and then they found it by chance, sort of by luck. Sight is a good word to know for your vocabulary, so I feel pretty good about that one for 1836, but let's go through the rest. What happened in 1840? Dean continued diving. Okay, so you should probably read this. Who's Dean? He's a diver, and the fishermen approached him and asked him to help them to free their nets, their gear. Gear means equipment. So then he dived and found the equipment, and he explored more, and he found several things from this ship, including a gun. Then, here's our sentence. He continued diving on the site until 1840, and he found all of these things. So in 1836 he started diving, and in 1840 he stopped. This word until tells you he stopped in 1840, and that looks pretty good for this one because that word until tells us he was exploring the site. And also, this is very important, one person. It's just this one guy, Dean. So I like that one for 1840. Let's carry on to check. Right, 1965, what happened? Another 100 years, don't worry about this. Nothing happened in 1965. This guy started a project called this. On paper, this was da-da-da. What he really hoped for was to find the Mary Rose. Quite difficult. I just want you to notice this while is one of our contrast markers. It's like a however or a but. So I can take that out and put however in there. It's the same meaning. And as I said before in Cambridge 12, this is the important information. A search was launched, initiated a project. This means started a project. And what he really hoped to find was the Mary Rose. Not very easy, but this whole thing means that he started a search looking for the Mary Rose. Pretty difficult language. So it's quite close to that one. 67. This guy's side scan sonar systems revealed an object. So this means this equipment found this object and he thought it was the Mary Rose. Anything here about finding it? And no, so nothing. 67. 71. The ship's frame was uncovered. Now they knew that they had found it. Blah, 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 blah. So again, nothing here where they say the ship's frame was uncovered, so no. I'm actually going to delete that one and that one because I'm quite sure that there's nothing there about those two. 79, okay, nothing. In 79 they formed this trust, and I don't see anything there about forming a trust, so I feel quite good that it's not 79. And in 82 was to raise the hull given the go-ahead when the information was available. So this operation was given the go-ahead. It means started, given permission to start. And that was given the go-ahead. It was agreed that the operation should go ahead. This operation is referring back to raise the hull. Remember, in 78 they showed that it might be possible, but in 82 it was given the go-ahead to raise the hull. So that looks pretty good for it was agreed. So there was nothing really confusing. If you went through them all, you could find them one by one, and there weren't any that could have been double. So 1836, the site was found by chance. So we will put A over there. Please don't put 1836 over there. I've seen students write 1836 over there. You will get it wrong. 1840, he continued diving and then he stopped in 1840, this Dean guy. So 1840 is B, 6 is B. 65, he started to search for it. That's over here. Initiated a project. Initiate, initially, initial, that's a good word to know. It means to start something. Or often it means at the beginning. So I'm quite happy about that. 65 is 5C. And then finally 82, it was agreed, it was given the go-ahead, was G. Not too bad, a little bit difficult. Minimum 2 out of 4 there. Right, true, false, not given. These are quite difficult, but let's look at our strategy first. Immediately I see that. Immediately I see that. So quickly go and find those first. That's over there, but Alexander McKee is all the way down over there. Now, one important thing that you must realize here is that they have not used these 2 paragraphs. They started over there with the next questions. So we're going to get a lot of the true, false, not given from these 2 paragraphs. However, we know that there's at least 1 over here. So my guess will be that there are 3 from here and 1 over here. Let's do the last one last and just start with these then. Right. What are you going to circle? What is IELTS testing here? Put a circle around the word that you think IELTS is testing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch my true, false, not given video. So pause the video and put some circles around the words. The target language. Okay, so these are the words that I would have circled, the words that I think IELTS is going to target. They weren't very easy, not like some true, false, not givens. It's very clear to see, but these ones weren't. Actually, I got this one wrong, as we will see later. So first thing we're going to do is find that and probably find that. So immediately we can see if we go and find that, that's right at the beginning there. So that's a bit strange because that was the second question. So you should see something funny going on there. And then Alexander McKee is there, but you should continue to scan and see that it's there, 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 and even further there. So it could be anywhere there in those paragraphs. Well, anyway, let's get started. There is some doubt about what caused Mary Rose to sink. This is a good word for you to know, doubt. When you're not sure of something, it means that you doubt it. And I would actually try and solve this one at the same time because of this. I don't really know where these 2 are. Was the Mary Rose the only ship, or did other ships also sink? So we're looking for caused, sink, maybe only, and doubt, but probably not. Caused, sink, and sink. So unfortunately, there's no easy way to do this. In this true, false, not given, finding the correct sentence was the main challenge. If you found the correct sentence, you had a better chance of solving these, but it took a long time to find the correct sentence. All of this is actually nothing. Here they're just introducing this battle. Here they're introducing the ship and some history about the ship. And then actually here is where the real information starts. This is an important word. An account means like a story. Story of what happened to the ship vary. That's also very important. It means that there are different stories of what happened to the ship. They are not the same. The witnesses agree this. Notice the contrast marker over there. That's the same as having a however over there. Some people say this. Some people say this. What is undisputed, however. So this, however, contrasts these two words, undisputed with vary. This is changes, however, the same. Is that the Mary Rose sank? We needed that word sank, past tense of sink, into the Solent. After the battle, recover the ship. These failed. Alright, really not easy. So, is there doubt about where are the causes of the Mary Rose to sink? What happened to the ship is what caused the ship to sink. Some people say this, and some people say this. So there is doubt because the stories vary. We are not sure what happened. Some people say one thing, some people say another thing. So yes, there is doubt. And then, was it the only ship to sink? I see nothing about other ships sinking. So that means there is some doubt what caused the Mary Rose to sink, because some people say one thing, other people say another thing. We are not sure. And that's what doubt means. That's true. Was it the only ship to sink? We don't know. There's nothing there about other ships. So that must be not given. Right, very difficult. Now, most of one side of the Mary Rose lay undamaged. They can change most. It can be all or some. And undamaged, they can say damaged or undamaged. So they could change either one of those two. Scanning language, what? It's probably these two as well. In this case, your target language and your scanning language are the same. We're not going to scan for Mary Rose, and there's a lot of sea in this passage, so you've got to scan for undamaged and most of one side. They really paraphrased it. So we see starboard side here. Starboard side again. You don't know what starboard side means, but they tell you, the right-hand side. Port side is another word for the left-hand side. So you would think it's somewhere there, but unfortunately it's not. You need to find undamaged. Can you see undamaged? Strong paraphrase. And that means undamaged there. Intact. It's a very difficult word. So actually this is our sentence. That's starboard side. Most of one side. One side, starboard side. Is it most? Intact is undamaged. So they're going to be testing this most. Was it most? Or was it all? Or was it none? Or was it some? And they say nearly all. So that's what this question is testing. It's a comparison between nearly all and most. Do you think nearly all and most are the same? What does most mean? Most means more than 50%. Most means between 50% and 100%. Nearly all means maybe something like 90%. So nearly all is most. It's part of most. Most is somewhere between 50 and 100. 90 is somewhere between 50 and 100. So they're the same. Nearly all and most are the same. That means that is true. Most of this side was undamaged. Alexander McKee knew that the wreck would contain many valuable historical objects, so I guess we're going to scan for this and Alexander McKee. Now, I thought it was going to be about many, but it was not. Let's find valuable historical objects. Again, extremely difficult vocabulary. I don't see anything there. And in fact, it's all the way down here. That word means historical objects. Very difficult language. A treasure trove means many. So we're in this sentence over here. So they're not actually testing many. It turns out that they're testing this word. So I was wrong there. That should have been there. Did he know that it would contain many artifacts, or did he not know? If you saw that, then the answer becomes quite clear if you found the correct sentence. There's the but. The but introduces the important part of the sentence. And there is unaware, not know. They didn't know that it had all of these historical objects. So what they're doing there is just comparing unaware with new, and they're different. So therefore that must be false. And incredibly difficult, true, false, not given. Very difficult vocabulary, very difficult sentences to find. So don't worry if you didn't do too badly there. You could have gotten a lot of marks on these other two. Most important thing though, I hope you left this for last. If you started with this, it would have taken a lot of your time. Alright, that's that for reading 1. Let's move on to reading 2.